Hello, hi, Assalamualaikum, and a very good morning to my respected lecturer, Madam ROKIAH MUDA, and my fellow classmates. Today, my friend and I will present supply chain management. Before the presentation begins, let me introduce the presenter. The first presenter is ADLINA binti SUHAIMI. The second presenter is me, Alyaa Nasuha binti YUSOFF, also as a moderator for today. Third presenter is HUSNA NASREEN binti AHMAD SABRI. Fourth presenter is Sofia binti MAHEMUD AFZAL, and the last presenter is AIMAN NADHIRAH binti MUHAMED JAUHAR. Alright, Miss Adlina, you may deliver your presentation now.
Hi, Assalamualaikum everyone. My name is Adlina, and I hope every one of you are having an amazing day.
For your information, you guys, I am from company PepsiCo.
So, in this seminar, you are going to learn about supply chain management. Before learning supply chain management, let's discuss what does supply chain mean. A supply chain is a connected network of supplier, manufacturer, where technology is involved, distributor, retailers, and customer, where the sales of products or services happen. A supply chain starts with the delivery of raw materials from a supplier to a manufacturer and ends with the delivery of the finished product or service to the end consumer. Companies develop supply chains so they can reduce their costs and remain competitive in the business landscape. Now, come to what is supply chain management, or SCM. Supply chain management is the centralized management of the flow of goods and services and includes all processes that transform raw materials into final products. SCM involves the active streamlining of a business supply-side activities to maximize customer value and satisfaction, gain a competitive advantage in the marketplace, to reduce costs, improve the overall organization performance by improving product or service delivered to the consumer. Now, let's take a look into the history of SCM. Starting with the first step in supply chain innovation by the 18th century, trade routes evolved and the first international production network was established, because how else were people around the world supposed to get their goods? When the Industrial Revolution began, the new technologies brought bigger shipments. And to move all those goods, especially the bigger goods, new modes of transformation were needed. Steamships came first early, then planes, trains, automobiles followed. The 20th century brought us production, standardization, and assembly lines, as well as other new ways to store, move, and track goods. World War II led to operations research and supply chain engineering. In 1967, we got our first taste of computerized inventory management and forecasting, and less than 10 years later, UPC barcodes simplified inventory tracking. For your information, UPC stands for Universal Product Code. The new efficiencies from large containers and computerized management tracking made just-in-time and lean manufacturing possible. Supply chains have advanced even further in the last 10 years through technology innovation, and more changes on the horizon with digital solutions such as the Internet of Things, predictive analysis, and artificial intelligence. As we move further away from steamships and sick roads, organizations will have to adapt. Now come to the origin of supply chain management. The term supply chain management was first coined by Keith Oliver in 1982. Its concept, however, comes from early in 20th century with the creation of assembly line. The current SCM concept encompasses the need for large-scale changes, re-engineering, downsizing driven by cost reduction program, and widespread attention to Japanese management practices. Now, finally come to integration era. Supply chain management can be classified as Stage 1, Stage 2, and Stage 3. This is due to the highlighted development of electronic data interchange (EDI) systems in 1960s and the development of enterprise resource planning (ERP). In Stage 1, systems such as production, storage, distribution, and material control are not linked and are independent of each other. In Stage 2, those systems are integrated under one plan and ERP is enabled. In Stage 3, supply chain management is one that achieves vertical integration with upstream suppliers and downstream customers. And an example of this kind of supply chain is Tesco.
Thank you, Miss ADLINA, for your good explanation. Before we go more details about supply chain management, let me explain the basic concept in supply chain management. In supply chain management, there are three basic concepts. First is upstream and downstream supply chain members. Second is inbound and outbound. Third is supply chain micro views. Okay, now let us look at concept number 1, upstream and downstream supply chain members concept. Supply chain follow its from supplier to customer. Supplier at the top or first and customer at the bottom or last. Material or goods flow from upstream to downstream. Now, the question is, which members will be considered upstream and which members will be considered downstream? From the distributor point of view, supplier and manufacturer are upstream supply chain members, meanwhile retailer and customer is downstream supply chain members. In the same way, if you are talking about manufacturer, who will be upstream members and who will be downstream members? So, look here, supplier will be upstream members and distributor, retailer, and customer will be downstream members. Now we move to second concept, inbound and outbound. We need to understand what it means by inbound and outbound. Let us consider a factory. Whatever the material comes into the factory is inbound, while whatever the material out from factory called outbound material. Usually the material comes at inbound are from upstream members and at outbound from downstream members. But sometimes we have situation in which materials comes from downstream members. This type of movement often called reverse logistic. This is also an inbound movement and we can say it inbound from downstream. It will be situation in which with return or the factory returns due to quality issue or others such as expiry. Such movement is called outbound movement toward upstream members. Now the last concept in supply chain management is supply chain macro view. In this concept, will provide a glimpse of supply chain function. In any of organization, that supply chain function will be provided to 4 areas. First is SRM. SRM is Supplier Relationship Management. SRM is the systematic approach to evaluating vendors that supply goods, materials, and service to an organization, determining each supplier's contribution to success and developing strategies to improve their performance. Second is ISCM. ISCM is it's referred to chain of activities within company that conduct with providing a product to customer. This process involves multiple functions within companies such as sales, production, and distribution. Third one is CRM, Customer Relationship Management. It is a technology for managing all your company's relationship and interaction with customers and potential customers. Okay, the last one is ERP, Information system. Information system is a platform where the progress or information are collected. Can greatly help simplify and optimize their supply chain management process for smoother and more profitable outcome. I hope all of you understand 3 basic concepts in supply chain management. Miss Husna, may I ask how the application of this concept that you can apply?
Thank you to Miss Alyaa for the question. My name is NASREEN SABRI and I am from the Alchemist Bakery. Okay, as per shown in the slide, it is illustrate a very basic supply chain with 3 entities which are a producer, supplier and customer. 4 basic flows that connect the supply chain entities together are as follows. First, flow of physical materials and services is from supplier to the producer and to the end customer. Second, flow of cash from the customer to the supplier. And last one is flow of information back and forth along the chain and reverse flow of product return. A basic supply chain in the figure is applied of these 3 entities which are supplier or seller, producer and customer. Supplier who provides goods and services or a person or organization with whom the buyer does business and their generic term in marketplace is seller. Supplier provides materials, energy, services or components for a product or services such as fabric, rubber and electric wiring. A producer is the one who receives components from the supplier to produce a finished goods or services such as shirt from fabric, power or light from electric wiring, and glove from rubber. And last entities is customer. Customer is the one who receives the finished goods, whereas the one who wear those shirts, use the glove and use the light in the dark. So, that's all that I can explain about the application steps of supply chain management.
Thank you, Miss Husna, for the information. Now, Miss Sophia, may I know what are the benefits and limitations in supply chain management?
Hello, my name is Sophia binti Mahmud AFZAL. I am from the company Johnson & Johnson. Based on my experience in the company, supply chain management has its own benefits and limitations to it. In any organization, supply chain management is indeed a helpful tool. The benefits to supply chain management includes cost efficiency. One of the most common goals in a business is to gain higher profit. This can be achieved by lowering the cost. Multiple costs like overhead costs, inventory costs, production costs, packaging costs, and transportation costs can be reduced by the implementation of supply chain management. For example, a restaurant owner could buy its supplies like vegetables directly from the farmer instead of buying it from the grocery store. This eliminates the cost of having to buy it from a third party. This shows that supply chain management can manage the flow of the goods or services. Next, supply chain management can assist in problem identification. It is able to recognize problems that could have an impact on the organization's profit. Problems that arise during the process can be easily identified. The managers can track the performance of all departments and figure out which departments caused the problem. And with this, managers can take quick action in solving the problems before it gets too big to handle. The departments can also avoid from blaming each other and getting into dispute. Third, supply chain management can help in making sure that the processes are on the right track. It can avoid delays in the process. This can ensure that all materials will arrive in a timely manner. Any interruptions during the business process can be avoided. And for the companies with logistics services, this can be a huge advantage for them as time plays an important role. Products or services that are sent to consumer within the allocated time will increase the consumer's trust on the business. The relationship between the consumer and the business can also be strengthened. Products or services will be sent to consumers smoothly according to the allocated time. Lastly, supply chain management can also increase cooperation between all the related parties in the business, such as the employees and the suppliers. It can make communication between different parties better and able to avoid confusion. Any mistake can be dodged easily and can foster good working relationship between all parties that can improve their morals and efficiency. With all of these benefits, supply chain management still has its own limitations. One of the biggest limitations to it is that it is costly and expensive. It requires a lot of time and money. Not all businesses are able to implement supply chain management in their organization. As for big companies, this might be okay. But for small companies, they might not have enough resources and unable to afford it. Hence, supply chain management would not be effective if there is a lack of teamwork in the organization. Teamwork in managing the supply chain management is important, as without this, their productivity can drop. It can also be difficult to implement teamwork as it involves different people that may have different work ethics. Those involved in the teamwork needs to be obedient to the instructions and need to have high tolerance with each other, because supply chain management needs a high level of coordination between departments. Poor teamwork will lead to supply chain management to fail. Third, supply chain management cannot be handled by just anyone. It requires a trained staff. It will only be effective this way because it is complicated. The staff need to go through trainings in order to become skilled and professional. In order to make the staff skilled, the company must incur extra expenses to increase the staff's knowledge and abilities. Lastly, at times, supply chain management can unfortunately become unreliable. This unreliability stems from inaccurate information shared by other departments, which can greatly impact the whole supply chain. It will disrupt the business process and slow it down, leading it to become ineffective. The performance of the business will go down. To sum it up, supply chain management can be both beneficial or troublesome to the organization. It all depends on the organization itself. However, if the company have enough resources and is able to invest in the money and time needed, then supply chain management can be an amazing assistant in the management that can influence the company in a positive manner.
Thank you, Miss Sophia, for your interesting presentation. Miss Nadhirah, can you explain how supply chain management give application to industry? And at the same time, please give us the benefits and obstacles that may be faced by the company as well as the solution.
Thank you, Miss Alyaa, for being a moderator. I'm here for the representative from the Apple Inc. Now I want to share with you an example of a corporation that practices supply chain management, which consists McDonald, Intel, Apple, L'Oreal, Tesco, and Johnson & Johnson. This company topped the list for the best supply chain. Next, I would like to share you an example of the company that I previously mentioned that applies supply chain management. The company that I choose is Apple Inc. Before that, how about we know the background of the Apple Inc. Apple Inc. is a multinational technology firm headquartered in Cupertino, California, that specializes in consumer device, software, and online service. Apple is the best world most valuable corporation, the fourth largest personal computer provider by unit sales, and the second largest mobile phone manufacturer, with a revenue of the US dollar $365.8 billion in 2021, along with Alphabet, Amazon, Meta, and Microsoft. It is one of the big five American information technology corporations. Now, let us see how the supply chain management work that has been implemented in this company. This is how Apple's supply chain management work. First is sourcing. At this point, Apple obtains component and material from the sources and transport them to the outsourced assembly plant in China. The second one is manufacturing. The goods are assembled in China in a factory. The third one is warehousing. The manufactured goods are transported directly from China to consumer who request them online, which is a drop shipping, or using third-party shipper such as a FedEx or UPS. They can also be delivered to the central warehouse in California. The fourth one is the distribution. The products are distributed to a retail outlet, wholesale, and network carrier from a single warehouse location. And lastly is a return. Consumer can participate in a recycle or reuse program at the end of the product life cycle by returning the product to the nearest Apple store or specialized recycling plant. Now let's look on the benefit and obstacle. There are some benefit and obstacle of the application of supply chain management technique. Firstly, we look on the benefit that Apple get when they use supply chain management. The first one is focused supply chain. Apple inventory different from the other innovation maker in that it has a limited amount of the thing, making unconventional judgment take courage. But Apple is recognized for it. Only 5 items with 15 variations are presently available. The tiny product range shares many regular parts, allowing for exceptional precision and network enhancement. But the system isn't for everyone. It is critical to evaluate the company market position, financial strength, and image. The second one is a control on their supplier. They still keep a secret about conquering Apple supplier. Apple issued a list of its suppliers in 2012 to clarify the manufacturing network. Apple claimed that 156 vendors on many suppliers and producers is also advantageous. Having fewer suppliers than their competitor make management easier. Apple can develop meaningful and reasonable limited ties. This affects Apple's cost because the company provides many components and purchase material. The third one is strategic supplier. The board also supervises an addictive and experienced inventory change. Without it, the organization image is at risk. Apple has also devised a set of agreed criteria for a supplier to ensure they meet Apple's standard and quality. Requests at Apple Store are regularly examined and the production network and balance if necessary, confirming the Apple inventory network strict control. Now let's see the obstacle that has been faced by the Apple company. The first one is delivery glitches. One of the Apple major iPhone supplier, which is on high accuracy company, just indicate that it will send much favor shipment to the upcoming iPhone. The lack of quality standard hindered firm from porting numerous iPhone devices to the client worldwide. A branch network built by the board agreement can overcome or mitigate quality difficulty detected in the production gap connection to design. The second one is a global pandemic. Apple's situation has been worsened as a COVID-19 has spread to the key global market. Apple's key supplier and manufacturing plant is in China, which was hit hard by the COVID-19 virus, closing and putting the country on the lockdown. Apple's stock declined, which shaved $13 billion of its market capitalization, which was approaching $1.5 trillion. The share traded at $318.74. Lastly is a copyright issue. Apple goods are replicated all around the world because their features are so good. Many small phone manufacturers replicate their design and functionality and sell their product at the significant lower price. Because of this issue, Apple has filed lawsuits against the various corporations. The recommendation of this obstacle is the success of the Apple production network job is based on how well they deal with their provider. Improving or evaluating supply performance is important for the new product development. Using long-distance connectivity benefits both Apple and its partner Samsung, an Apple competitor. It is a major supplier. Nonetheless, Apple leads Samsung in the race, exhibiting excellent supplier control. Tim Cook has improved Apple production network to its highest level ever. This analysis shows that Apple Inc. is the king outsourcing of procurement. To minimize major delay, companies should treat their employees well and prevent suppliers from exploiting them. Improved supplier communication might also reduce the delivery difficulty. Now, I will present another example of supply chain management in the fast food industry. As you can see in my prepared PowerPoint, the supply chain management includes sourcing, manufacturing, delivery, and return. The first one is outsourcing. They start with the ingredients. McDonald began their supply chains by outsourcing items like cheese, dehydrated onion, iceberg lecture, and chicken patty, amongst others. The second one is manufacturing. The grower or processor, also called a tier 2, will then deliver all the material to the tier 1, then the supplier for the processing. Once all of the ingredients have been prepared, they will be transported to the distribution facility via incoming transformation. The third one is a delivery and logistics. When the product arrives at the distribution center, they will be transported to the McDonald restaurant. And lastly is a returning. The merchandise will be supplied to the restaurant or to the return logistic from the outgoing transportation. As a part of the returning process, McDonald's will return all excess or unwanted product for the plastic waste.
That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. NADHIRAH, for your detailed and clear explanation. Now, we are at the final discussion of our content for today's presentation. Ms. HUSNA, can you give recommendation to improve supply chain management?
Okay, there are some recommendations to improve supply chain management, such as risk cost awareness. With supply chain management, there are numerous uncontrollable aspects and variables. As a result, many managers along the supply chain are frequently unaware of one another's expenses. Having unified financial data allows the business to determine exactly when and where it spends money. This will promote cost-cutting communication and initiatives for reducing expenses and streamlining operations. Second, improve distribution network. The cluster approach and the comparable documents approach are two methods that can be used to improve the distribution network. First, the cluster strategy involves grouping charts, graphs, and other similar documents together. This assists in the monitoring of the procedures for each particular firm function. And second, the holistic approach is one that looks at the distribution network in its entirety, including all of its most important parts. In addition to this, it places an emphasis on understanding how the various parts interact with one another. The third one is review procedures regularly. To maintain efficiency and compliance, the Supply Chain Council must examine policies and processes. It also aids in avoiding supply chain bottlenecks, streamlining processes, and mitigating the risk of theft and fraud. Regular reviews aid in detecting various risk factors and calculating their financial impact. And the last one is implement a good project plan. Increasing supply chain efficiency is not a one-time event. It's an ongoing process, so you will need a complete project plan to guarantee that you are always working toward your goals. A good project plan may help you make strategic investment in supply chain capabilities, design a distribution strategy, establish communication channels, identify risks and opportunities, and facilitate cross-functional decision-making and supply chain improvement projects. That's all the recommendation to improve the supply chain management that I can give to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. HUSNA, for the information. To put it briefly, supply chain management is an important part of every organization. Finally, we come to the end part of our presentation. We would like to say thanks again to presenter for the informative, interesting talk. Hopefully, the presentation will be beneficial for everybody. Thank you for your attention. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, now we come to question and answer season.